All right, we're live. Okay. I'm Anthony,
I'm Eric.
and this is Total Football Talk. Now, if you're wondering, they say the camera adds 10 pounds. I just didn't realize there were 15 cameras on my face. All right. Now,
Wow.
this week, a lot's gone on. Just since we did the last show. So let's do the easy part. Let's cover the games. So we will start with Philadelphia and Buffalo. I did not. I'm trying to remember. I did not expect this game to go this way. Buffalo looked like the Buccafoes, and the Eagles look like the frickin' Washington Redskins of the 80s. I was surprised. 31-13. Buffalo got run over at home. I don't know. Again, it just adds to the weird year, Eric. But what was your take of this game?
Well, first of all, the whole pregame leading up to this game was about the weather, swirling winds, 26 miles an hour. But you know what? Both teams actually have to play it. So it's not like Buffalo is the home team saying, "Hey, we want to play the dome," and Philly's got to play on the road in all the elements. No, it don't work like that. See, what you guys don't know is Doug Peterson called me after I left him a message. He said, "Our defense from Green Bay is going to play in this game in Buffalo." I said, "Okay, I expect the Eagles to win now."
Yeah.
But, it just goes to show you that Buffalo has got a little bit of a ways to go to be consistent. Josh Allen needs a lot more consistency. He fumbled 3 times. He lost 1. He needs to be able to hit his open receivers. I mean, if you couldn't hit Cole Beasley for a 14-yard touchdown pass and there's nobody within 35 yards around him, then you have problems. But he was able to do that, get him in the end zone. I just think Philadelphia came to play and they had something to prove, and they were the better team. I think if you play this game on a neutral field 10 times, I think Philly would probably win 7 or 8 times.
You know what was.
I just think that Philly found their ground game with Miles Sanders. Nothing else really was working except Dallas Goedert as well, too. But they went into Buffalo and said, "You know what, we're going to play our brand of football," and that's what they did.
What I was surprised about is, and Josh Allen's reputation coming out of college was he wasn't accurate, and I didn't know how much I took into account for that because of the elements that he had to play in and the team that he was on. But that really did bear fruit since he's been in the NFL. It's been the one bugaboo that he's had. I mean, you ask any coach in football if there's anything a guy wants as a coach from his quarterback, if there's one skill that's more important than anything else, it's accuracy. And it worries me, as much as I like Josh Allen, that he's as inaccurate as he is. Carson Wentz looked good. The running game looked good. Philly looks like a playoff team for now. But it's good Philly, bad Philly. And if Peterson is going to reach the next level as far as a coach goes, in my book, winning a Super Bowl is certainly putting him in a different level. Okay, so I'm not saying he's down here with the rest of the people. I still think he's a step better than McVay because he got to the big show and got his team ready to play with a backup quarterback and won the game. So he's better than McVay to this point. But that being said, now he's got to figure out how to get the team consistent. I'll give this to McVay. The Rams are a consistent football team. Year in and year out, the 3 years he's played, the Rams have been a very consistent team. Now it's a matter of stepping up in big moments. We'll see if that happens. They did in the championship game. They didn't in the Super Bowl. Now that's their bounce back year, but we'll get to the Rams later. But for me, this is the next step because I've seen this too often with Philly. Bad Philly, good Philly, cold Philly, hot Philly. They don't have Foles to bail them out anymore. So they're going to have to lean on Wentz and see if he can get this thing figured out. But Jordan Howard's been a nice fit. That Eagles defense is going to keep him in a lot of football games, especially if they play the way they did. So tip of the hat to the Eagles. That was a big win after an embarrassing loss at Dallas.
Yeah, one other thing to add. Philly won this game 31-13. Now, you would think there'd be stats galore in this game for Philly, but Wentz only threw for 172 yards. Jordan Howard had 96 yards rushing. Alshon Jeffrey had 64 yards receiving. Those were the leaders, okay? Yeah. That just goes to show you, they were working with a lot of short fields. Their defense scored. They did rip off a long run with Miles Sanders, a 65-yard touchdown. Other than that, there wasn't a lot of stat padding in this game at all.
No. And for a 31-13 game, that's weird. I'll tell you a team that did do a lot of stat padding. Guys, I'm going to say it right now. This is going to be the second Super Bowl in my lifetime that I will not watch. Because I have no doubt that's the Super Bowl at this point, Eric. I have seen nothing from the NFC to tell me that they can knock off the 49ers. And I've seen nothing from the AFC that'll tell me that they can knock off New England. So for me, February 2nd, 2020 looks like it's going to be a nice little Manna family day. And we're going to be outside enjoying the weather and having a good time in Arizona February weather. Because I got no reason to watch this game. I've got no desire to watch this game. And I'm watching this nightmare unfold week by week by week. And it is a nightmare for Ram fans because there are three teams in the LA Ramily that we can't stand. And they are in this particular order. For me, it may be different. It may be different. But this is the bottom three. For me, it's San Francisco, New England, and then Dallas. Those three teams, they can burn eternally in the pits of flames of hell for all I care. I can't stand any one of them.
What? I wish that on a certain team before. It just doesn't work.
I know. I'm just saying, I will actually have I could have a very good 4-12 year. If the Rams were to go 4-12 and the Niners were to go 2-14, and we beat them twice, New England and Dallas, that's a great year. That's a 4-12 year to celebrate, right? That's how much I hate those teams. Now, obviously, I'd give it all up for a Super Bowl title, but the Niners right now, they're doing everything I said the next dynasty has to do. Run the ball, play great defense, and have a quarterback that's hella accurate on third down. And you will dominate. This league is not built to stop the run. They don't have run-stuffing linebackers. They don't have run-stuffing D tackles. And they don't have outside-containing defensive ends. They have pass-rushing ends, pass-rushing tackles, linebackers that used to be safeties in college, and corners and safeties that are perennial corners and safeties their whole life. These are pass coverage defenses, and they have to gear up and hit the 49ers in the mouth, and they can't handle it. And when Juszczyk comes back and this 49er offense starts clicking again, I don't know. The Niners won't go undefeated, and I really do think they're going to lose to the Rams in San Fran just because Goff plays really well on the road, or I should say plays really well in San Francisco. And the Rams are going to be in a position where there could be some, not a chance to win the division, but a chance to get a 5 seed and maybe get the better draw in the wild card round for the road game. Because the Niners aren't going undefeated. They're just not. But I don't know where their loss is going to come from. And it ain't coming this Thursday.
Maybe a game in Seattle. I don't know.
I doubt it. The Seahawks are garbage.
Maybe Green Bay. I know they get the Packers.
Yeah, but again, let me explain why I said Green Bay is garbage. I have not been.
They're a fraud. They're a fraud.
Yeah, it's easy for us to say this, right? You're a Bear fan, and I've never been a fan of the Packers, but it's been smoke and mirrors.
No, just seriously, no. I'm not saying that because I am a Bears fan. You look at who Green Bay has played, this year. The Bears aren't very good. They beat them 10-3. You won by a touchdown. The Vikings, they played at home. Kirk Cousins gave that game away. The The Broncos played their two best games, week 2 and week 3, against the Bears and Packers. They lost by 11. Then the Eagles came to town. They ran over Green Bay. Okay. They go to Dallas. Dallas pretty much just folded like a house of cards. We're like, oh wow, Aaron Jones said that Ezekiel Elliott he's going to match him yard for yard. We're going to let him happen. Okay. Then they play the Lions and the refs give them the freaking game. They play the Raiders. They can't hold on to the ball. Okay, the Raiders stink. The Chiefs have no defense. Tell me who the frick the Packers have played that's actually worth it.
Well, and I look at Seattle and I make the same argument. The refs gave them the friggin' game against Cleveland. They got taken to the woodshed by Baltimore. They did not beat Pittsburgh by an impressive margin. They barely beat the Bengals at home. I mean, so these are two football teams that I know the Niners will utterly destroy. Utterly destroy. If they can beat Carolina 41-13, I'm sorry, there ain't a guy on that football team that isn't looking at Lambeau and isn't looking at Seattle going, oh, we got this. There isn't a guy on the team that isn't doing that. Now, they'll say all the right things in the pressers, and the media will build them up to be these great games, and the refs will do everything they can to make it close. But at the end of the day, the Niners are going to win those games. I was impressed with San Francisco defensively in this game more than I was offensively, because they completely shut down a Panther team that had been clicking on all cylinders in Carolina. Allen was so good that there was rumors of Cam Newton going to the Bears this week prior to the game. And then the Niners blew the doors off of that train. Your take.
First of all, I don't want Cam Newton as a Bear. Sorry. Not going to happen. Second, I like what Ron Rivera did after the game. See, I think the bye week, even though the Panthers went to London, I think the bye week came at the wrong time because in a week off, they had all that travel, and they had to go off to the West Coast. Listen, I know all teams travel. Seattle's got one of the worst travel schedules every year. Okay, and they somehow do it. So to me, this was an ideal trap game for the Panthers because they were coming back, they were chilling at home, then they had to go out to the West Coast. They were playing some of their best football leading up to their bye week. They really were. Kyle Allen had not thrown an interception. On his 7th pass attempt in San Francisco, he threw a pick. First of 3 on the day. San Francisco was like, you know what, Kyle Allen, you're not beating us. We'll take whatever Christian McCaffrey, does against us, fine. But you're not passing, and you're not passing for anything this week. And they shut down a Panthers team. Now, what I liked what Ron Rivera did was he said Kyle Allen is going to be our starter the following week. And I like that. I still think the Panthers are competitive. They ran into a really good 49ers team. They're going to come back with their wounds. They have Tennessee this week. And honestly, I think the Panthers right the ship. I really do.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, they're capable, but I think it's more of an expression on how good the Niners are than how bad Carolina was. That's not where I was going with that. The Niners are built to win now because the league is not built to stop this type of football team.
They are, and I'm going to throw a stat out at you. Do you know that Brady, Garoppolo, and Brissett were all on the same team one time?
Wow.
You know they're 20 and 2.
You know,
20 and 2. The Patriots traded Brissett to the Colts for Philip Dorsett. Yeah, Dorsett. Yeah, who's that guy? Yeah, he only caught 2 touchdowns and had 95 yards receiving in week 1 this year. But he's also been a godsend for a Patriots team that got rid of Antonio Brown after a week. They put Josh Gordon on IR. They've lost 2 tight ends to injury, plus released another one today. So, I mean, they need Dorsett to step up, and he has stepped up. Then you got Garoppolo. They're like, we're going to send him out to the West Coast, and we're just going to take, a bag of peanuts and a couple deflated footballs back. And, all he's done is freaking win in San Francisco. So.
And let's look at the contrast here. At one point, you had Garoppolo, Brissett, and Brady on the same team.
Yeah, they had the freaking heir apparent.
Right.
And Brady's outlasted them.
Then you have the Rams. At one time, this was our quarterback room. Are you ready? Sam Bradford, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles.
Hey, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, and Case Keenum threw the pass in Minnesota that beat the Saints. So you got something going for you there.
I think combined, they don't have 20 wins career. I'm just saying. I mean,
we know Bradford only had like 4.
It's just, I look at what the Patriots had in their quarterback room, and I think about what the Rams did, and it really does express and highlight something that organizations that win, they're good everywhere. They recognize their deficiencies and they take care of it. Teams that win in one season, they're good for a year or two. They did a good build for a while. You look at the Steelers, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 74. Phenomenal drafts. Phenomenal. The 49ers, they were good for 20 years. Drafted well. Got rid of guys. Traded for guys like Steve Young. Right? At one time, they had Steve Bono, Elvis Grbac, Steve Young, and Joe Montana in the same locker room. Right? It's one of those things. I love how people are like, well, the Niners were stacked. That's why Montana was so good. The organization was stacked. They knew how to build the team. And Tom Brady has always been surrounded by superior players with the best coach in football. I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it. Troy Brown was one of the most underrated wide receivers of the aughts. He was. The guy could play DB. He was a superstar wide receiver when they decided to use him. He was Tom Brady's go-to, right? Prior to that, or after, you had Deion Branch, who was a good wide receiver. Well, what was he after he left New England? Granted, he didn't have the structure, but you can't argue the fact that he's one of the best receivers in football when he was in New England.
Yeah, he was. He won an MVP.
Yeah. I mean, what was Antonio Brown after he left Pittsburgh? But is anybody going to say Antonio Brown wasn't a great player? Or are we going to say that Antonio Brown was great because Mike Tomlin was his coach? That's my point. You can be great somewhere, and then the coaches recognize your star has burned out, and they get rid of you at the right time. And the Patriots have been notorious for that. I remember Willie Big Play Clay. They let him go right after Super Bowl 36. Everyone made a big deal about it. He goes to Buffalo and New England gets blown out 31-0. Right? The next year, or that year, because that was in 03, sorry. That year they go on to win the Super Bowl against Carolina without Willie Big Play Clay. So they're just good at that. That's what they're known. That's what great organizations do. And then you have the Rams. Yeah. Let's get rid of Marcus Peters and get another Marcus Peters. Let's get rid of Aqib Talib so we can have Ty Hill be our other corner. Is anybody excited about that move? So I'll jump into this before we get into our two teams because I'm not gonna take long on this. I'll get your input on this in a minute. The Rams are still building this team as if the offensive line is okay. You played the Bengals and the Falcons. Calm down. Now, we come out of the gate and we get the sorry Pittsburgh Steelers who barely beat Miami at home on Monday night. They did
more than barely beat them.
Dude, they were down 14-0 in the third quarter.
They were down 14-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah, and then it was 14-3. and then a ridiculous missed call.
Oh, a 3rd and 22 all blitz with nobody covering a receiver? Yeah, because you're not tanky.
Right, seriously. Look, it was 27-14, and at one point it was 20-14 going into the end of the third quarter, towards the end of the third quarter. They won, but Pittsburgh's not a good football team. The Rams are going to win coming out of the bye week. We agree on that. Then they got the Bears, which I'm not as afraid of them as I used to be, but I still worry about Havenstein. But the Rams have some very winnable games down the stretch. They still play Arizona twice. They got Seattle once. Like I said, Pittsburgh, right? Dallas, Chicago, San Francisco. Who am I forgetting? Baltimore. 2 or 3 losses. They could very well be 10-6, 11-5. So I don't know. I'm not sold on this football team. And now we trade Aqib Talib, who we could have had in the postseason, playing one side, with Ramsey playing the other, and actually keeping us in the game maybe longer than necessary. I'm sorry, but who's playing the other corner for the Rams? Like, this move, not only do you do Aqib Talib dirty by sending him to Miami, but you get nothing in return. In fact, you get rid of Talib and a 3rd round pick or 5th round pick, and all you get back is a 2022 7th round draft pick. Oh, well, they took his salary too, so they freed up money. What? So we're going to sign Jalen Ramsey to a long-term deal. Awesome. It's still fixable. And Eric will explain to you why it's fixable, because I've said it ad nauseum. But newsflash, it's going to involve free agency and offensive linemen. Just saying that now. You don't. I don't know who you're going to pick up in the draft in the 3rd round to play corner. That's going to be worth the start. So are you going to bypass O-line again and go get a free agent corner? Like, this whole thing reeks as an organization that doesn't know what the hell it's doing. And that's why I'm frustrated. I look at the 49ers and I see exactly how you win right now. You build a running team with a strong defense because no one in the NFL can stop it. Or I look at an organization like New England that knows what to do, where it's weak, and how to build it. And they have coaches that can groom unknown players into superstars. You know what the Rams have? The Rams have Wade Phillips. Now, I'm going to call him out here for a minute. Wade Phillips, for all of the genius everybody keeps claiming he has, I want you to understand something, okay? Jalen Ramsey has got burned pretty bad last week a couple of times. If it was a better football team, that's a different score. Let me rephrase that. Maybe a better way of looking at this. Jalen Ramsey got burned by the Bengals. Has that ever happened in his career? Marcus Peters and all the crap that he got. Why did he look so bad? He was a perennial All-Pro, Pro Bowl corner who led the league in interceptions in the short time that he was in the league. Goes to the Rams and looks like garbage half the time. He goes, Jalen Ramsey comes in and looks bad against Cincinnati. What's the correlation here? Wade Phillips is the common denominator. And I'm worried. Because our fans and the media, they're putting the Ram coaches here. And Eric, I know you can't see it, but I have it way above my head. But the reality is, what I'm seeing with my eyes and what I'm contemplating in my brain is a performance somewhere down here. I'm below the desk. You can't see my hand. That's a big difference between what I'm being told is the reality and what the reality is actually being shown on the field. We got more problems in LA than a math book. And I'm getting concerned because our general manager is a problem. Our head coach is becoming a problem. Our defensive coordinator is becoming a problem. Our offensive line continues to be a problem. But all of this is Jared Goff's fault. Somehow. I give up. Eric, your assessment on this trade, because A, I don't understand it. B, it doesn't improve the football team at all for this year or next. And I don't know what you just did to improve the overall factor of the football team in the long term. Please help me.
Well, since we're talking about Talib, I think it's pretty simple. He's on IR right now, so it's not like he's helping your team right now. And I'm not sure his contract status is either. If it's, and I can look that up while I'm talking, but if he's got no contract for next year, for 2020, then I mean you're dumping $4.5 million basically to a team who's willing to take on salary and give up a late round draft pick, which is fine. I mean they've already come out, they've said it. They're like, hey, you know what? Just dump them on us. We'll take them. And you know he might not even be there like next year as far as with the Dolphins. So I don't know what his thoughts are on it. It was more of a money dump. That's basically what it is. He's not eligible to return until week 15, so he may play this off and be like, "Oh, my rib still hurts." So there goes week 16. There goes week 17. The Dolphins could release him with an injury settlement before then. He isn't actually. I see it right here. He is in the final year of his deal. So you know. He's not contributing to the Rams right now, so why not just get something for him while he wouldn't be able to help you until week 15 or week 16 anyways if he was still on the Rams. So actually, it wasn't that bad of a move. I think getting the 7th round pick is what really ticks off Ram fans. That they're like, oh, well, we had to trade Talib and a 5th round pick just to get a 7th round pick back. But yeah, you did get $4.5 million back by trading him. That Miami wanted to cover. Listen, if you wanted a better draft pick, you would have had to cover half or more of his salary. But now they have this $4.5 million to save up to sign Jalen Ramsey to a long-term deal. And if you get him done to a long-term deal, not only is he younger, but he's we've discussed this before. He's more of a man-to-man cover corner, which is fine because Talib was kind of more of a zone coverage corner. He adds a different element, Ramsey does, to the Rams defense moving forward. So it's not as bad when you actually dissect it enough. Now, depending on what Ramsey's contract is, I mean, there's always that possibility to where he eats up a lot of the Rams' money, and then the Rams are thin in a lot of other positions.
You know who else's contract?
You want to make sure that the Rams save enough money so they can go into next year's free agency period and get a couple of offensive linemen that can help. Listen, I don't know how much more you can trade as far as draft picks, but Washington, the Washington Redskins franchise are a bunch of idiots. They could have traded Trent Williams last offseason when they already knew his grievance. Okay. Like, he didn't want to play for the Redskins. Fine, no problem. Right after the trade deadline, Trent Williams, offensive lineman, and we talked about him majority of this time on the show because that's who the Rams, I believe, could have went after and offered some draft picks for. I think it might have made more sense than Ramsey, but we'll never know. He reported to the Redskins today so that his contract would not go into next year. So he's going to get paid for this year, but he has no intention of playing. So if you've already known this and his agent has told you this, why not trade him before and entertain a bunch of deals and get him out of the building and get yourself some draft picks?
You want to free up money? Here's my issue with everything you said. Okay. Week 15, we get Dallas. Week 16, we're at San Francisco. Week 7.
And who's Ramsey on again in Dallas? Cooper. Who's he on in San Francisco? I mean, I don't think you're going to put him on Kittle, but
Sanders.
Sanders, yeah, now he's there.
Then we end the season against Arizona. Here's the problem. Let's look at Dallas. Okay. Now who's covering Gallup? Ty Hill? Is that a matchup as a Cowboy fan you're not salivating over?
Okay. So then I'll play devil's advocate. What if Talib wasn't ready in week 15 if he stayed on the Rams? He ended up being out the rest of the year. You still have nobody to guard those guys.
That's true. But you'd at least have them for the postseason.
If you make the postseason.
Well, they're making it. Look, as much as I rag on this team, they're making the playoffs. There's no question in my mind about that. You want to free up money. This is going to be unpopular. Oh, by the way, Brandon Cooks may be done for the rest of his career. He's looking for a second opinion, but the concussion looks pretty severe, and he's already got a history of concussions.
Yeah, two within a couple of weeks.
And you don't look for a second opinion unless somebody tells you something you don't want to hear. And being told you have a concussion, ask Luke Kuechly. That's not something they necessarily care about. But with Cooks, something was told to him. You want to free up money? Trade Gurley. I know that sounds horrific, but we obviously aren't using him this year. He's obviously.
I was thinking about that. I actually was going to say that. Cutter trade Gurley, but the thing is, like, he just signed that extension, and who's going to want him? Let's be honest. If you're not using
Green Bay,
because there might be an underlying issue, who wants him?
Green Bay.
Green Bay found their running back.
Did they?
Yeah, if you've watched any of their games this year, and unfortunately they're always on out here for some reason. Yeah, I've watched.
Okay. I mean, a couple games doesn't make a career, but
no, it does not.
How about Houston?
You know, it's funny, and I'm gonna bring this back. So the Jets somehow leaked, or somebody said something that Le'Veon Bell was available in trade talks today. And I started going through teams. I'm like, oh, who would be a good fit for Le'Veon Bell? And I'm going to do the same thing with Gurley here, okay? Now, one of the best teams that I could find for Le'Veon Bell was Tampa Bay. Because I think Tampa Bay is done trying to find a running back. They want somebody legit who can take the ball and not look back. And I don't think they trust Barber or Ronald Jones. Somebody brought up Houston. And I said, you know what? Houston would be a great fit if they didn't spend a lot of draft capital on Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. Okay? They were talking about Le'Veon Bell in the offseason to Houston, and they didn't pull the trigger. That is one place that could work for Gurley, but I think it would be more of a sign and trade. But, I mean, you're not going to get – I don't know what you're going to get from the Rams. Don't say DeAndre Hopkins because that's not happening.
No.
But like I think they would go after him if they cut him, not for a trade. But yeah, Houston mentioned because they are looking for somebody. They haven't had anybody good since Arian Foster left town.
Right. I'm telling you right now, Tampa Bay's running back next year, remember I said this, is David Johnson. That's their running back next year. Because the Cardinals found their running back. Let's get to the Ram game. So apparently Jared Goff is terrible. That was I heard somebody today on the radio say that Jared Goff is still struggling in this bye week. The Rams really need to figure out how to get him from struggling. And I'm looking at his numbers and I'm scratching my head going, what does this kid have to do to get off of this he's struggling crap that I've been hearing nonstop since the Lions game last year? Can somebody please tell me where he's struggling? I mean, I know Cooper Kupp had 220 yards. Did somebody just punt the ball to him and he played 3 flies up and got the ball and ran? Or did somebody actually deliver the football? I'm confused. Also, more on the Todd Gurley's frustrated. If you watched his touchdown celebration and him throwing the ball in the stands, that was not a heck yeah, I scored, I'm so happy. That's a I'm effing pissed, take the ball throw. He's not happy right now. And I don't blame him. Why do we continue to not run him? If I see Devin Henderson on the field one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Get this fat, out of shape, no talent hack off the field. I want to see Joe Kelly. I want to see Justin Davis. I want to know what these kids are capable of because I know this no talent hack from Memphis doesn't have NFL talent. I don't know what else you need to see. Oh, he had a good run though, Anthony. He ran a guy over. It's the Bengals. I'm surprised he didn't fumble it when he made contact. I'm done with Henderson. Run Gurley or trade him. You obviously don't know what you're doing. So the Rams win 24-10 against a bad team in London. I'll take it. The Rams have a bye week coming up. Unfortunately, that's not going to fix their offensive line. But maybe the Rams can start focusing more on the running game and figure out a plan of attack moving forward. Because this one-dimensional garbage, and I'll tell you something else that's really getting on my nerves. I don't remember a coach in NFL history that has lied to the fan base as much as Sean McVay.
Oh, you have it. Sean, Matt Nagy says, hold my beer.
Does he? Is that not annoying? I'm done with it. Either tell me what you're going to do or tell me you're not. Don't tell me. I'm fine either way. Don't tell me one thing and then go out on the field and do the opposite and then go, oh, well, whatever. It's bothersome because the way you protect Jared Goff when you have a bad offensive line is you run the ball or you utilize a tight end or a combination of both. This isn't rocket science. There have been teams with less talent that have won multiple championships with that formula than the Rams have. All I'm seeing is an abandon of the running game, an ignoring of the offensive line, a trading away of what was the best backfield in football, defensive backfield in football outside of New England, to be fair. And now we have a great corner, maybe, garbage, old garbage, and an injured superstar who will eventually get there in Johnny Johnson III. But he's playing banged up this year. We went from having the best secondary in football, at least in the NFC, obviously, again, outside of New England, to now a very suspect. What, you disagree? Do you disagree?
Nope, not at all.
Okay. And now, I don't know. I don't know how you don't. I mean, granted, they're going to roll coverage over, but you better hope that Wade Phillips doesn't have something on his defense that screws Jalen Ramsey and he gets burned again. Because I tell you, Juju Smith-Schuster, he won't make the mistakes the Bengals made. Although they have a bad quarterback too, so you're safe against Pittsburgh. But as they move forward, it gets a little worrisome. You go ahead, Eric. You talk about the Ram Bengal game. I'll be honest with you guys too. I didn't see it, so I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't get the game.
So first with the Bengals, Joe Mixon had a good game. More on them later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't think this game really should have been that close to begin with. I mean, the Bengals tried to make it close. They had a touchdown overturned at the end to try to pull within 7, but they weren't able to do it. I was wondering where the Rams' defense was going to step up in a big opportune time and make a play, and I just wasn't seeing it. Mm-hmm. And that kind of made me, scratch my head a little bit. I know they were throwing to Erickson and Tate a little bit and whatnot, so I was kind of wondering who Ramsey was guarding, because they didn't have the game out here either, but I did see the highlights. I thought that the Rams should have taken advantage more of the run game. Gurley only had 10 carries. He should have had 20, 25. Mm-hmm. Run the guy. It's against the Bengals. You're not going to lose even if you try to lose. You're not tanking. However, man, I swear, I love me some Cooper Kupp. If I get another non-Chicago football jersey, it's going to be Cooper Kupp. I'm telling you right now, just don't send it along with a knee brace, because I don't want my ACL torn.
He's a superstar, dude. He's a superstar.
Anyways, but Cooper Kupp is thriving. Cooper Kupp's absence was the reason why the Rams lost the Super Bowl last year, and you could tell. There was more to it, yes, but they really could have used Kupp in the Super Bowl.
They would have won.
What?
They would have won that game if they had Kupp. It's not even debatable.
Absolutely. He provides a dynamic to this offense that really goes unexplainable. You have Robert Woods. Yeah, you have Cooks when he's healthy. And you know what? Cooper Kupp might be the number 1 wide receiver on this team. He pretty much already is. But he plays more out of the slot, and he thrives. And that's where he should stay. Kupp is such a dynamic wide receiver that, Goff could have an off game, and Cooper Kupp can still drag him out of that and be like, throw it to me, you won't regret it, type of thing. I just thought the Rams' offense was lacking. Maybe they were a little bit tired as well, traveling to London. I think these London games should stop. Mm-hmm. I think it's just bad on the body, especially if teams decide to go over the midweek. We've seen that happen to numerous teams, not just this year, but last year as well, the years previous. There's another game in London coming up this week, and we'll see how those teams respond too. But I just think the Rams left a lot of points on the board. I think they could have blown out the Bengals. But you know what? Listen, football sometimes is not a pretty game. And sometimes you just have to go out, you have to suck it up, and you have to go win a game that you were going to win anyways back in the States. So whether or not you play on the moon, in London, in Cincinnati, or in L.A., that's a team you got to win. That's a team you got to beat that particular Sunday. And the Bengals, yeah, they put up a little fight, but they're the Bengals. They're 0-7 for a reason. And, I don't know of a prediction that has become worse and worse by the week. When I picked the Giants, at least my starting quarterback was never benched. Congratulations, Los Angeles Rams. You have just benched Andy Dalton for his career in Cincinnati. Ryan Finley from NC State, who they drafted, is now going to be starting. And what did Cincinnati do at the trade deadline, everyone? Oh, that's a big fat nothing. They could have traded A.J. Green. They could have traded somebody else. They could have traded Tyler Eifert. Guess what? Nope, crickets. They decided to keep them all. And 0-17, get some draft picks, but that's why your nickname is the Bungles and not the Bengals. So congratulations. I do not get a redo on that.
I honestly, honest to God, dude, I don't recall ever being this far off ever. Ever. You've known me for how many years? Since '01, right? Have I ever been this off?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that was, you know, you've had some outlandish calls before. You've had some weird calls before. I mean, you called the Rams 4-12, and then you called the Rams going to the Super Bowl, so you kind of give the benefit of the doubt. Then you pick the Bengals. I'm like, dude, what are you smoking? Even I said it. And you're like, no, I'm sticking by it. Like, everybody else in the division stinks. Like, not even Cleveland's going to win the division. Cincinnati's going to win the division. I'm like, what are you seeing? They stink. Hey, you know what? Hey, there's always next year.
right? Hey, speaking of stinks, let's talk about the Bears.
Yeah, a bear doesn't poop in the woods. It poops around Soldier Field. So, a couple weeks ago, when I said I really like listening to Booger McFarland in the booth, and he's like, and it was during the Green Bay Detroit game. He's like, you know what? You don't beat Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers by kicking field goals. Yeah, you don't win by kicking field goals, no matter where you are, no matter who you play. The Bears had 2 turnovers. There was an interception that Trubisky probably shouldn't have thrown, but the DB was pretty much thrown right to the DB. Now, Trubisky's not an interception throwing machine. He's not a Fitzpatrick. He's not a
Cutler.
Jameis Winston.
A Cutler.
Okay. So the interception didn't bother me that much. Yeah, it sucked because how late in the game it was. It was the fumble on the next drive that drove me crazy. Dude, you didn't even get hit and you let the ball. Dante Culpepper on your own darn hands. Okay? Like, yeah. A little breeze would hit Dante Culpepper in the dome in Minnesota, and he would fumble the ball and be like, whoops. So that one led to the go ahead touchdown. And I don't know what it is with the Bears in the fourth quarter, but twice this year so far, they have driven down the field. Once in London, where Chase Daniel throws a long ball and it gets picked because the receiver broke his route. What are you doing at midfield with 58 seconds left, throwing an interception deep downfield? Like, you just need a field goal to tie the game. This game, the Bears driving down the field, they look good. Like, Trubisky can run the 2-minute offense, no problem. Just run the 2-minute offense the whole game.
Yeah, do what the Bengals did in the '80s, right?
Right. And so, what does our genius head coach do? He lines up in victory formation on 3rd down and takes a knee to create a 41-yard field goal. Oh, and it gets better, and I'll get to it.
Why doesn't he run the ball? Wow.
Exactly. Thank you. Why didn't he run the ball? We'll never know to this day. We'll never know. So Pinheiro lines up, kick goes wide left. I'm sitting there on my recliner, and I'm like, nothing phases me anymore. Really, it doesn't. When you've seen a double doink, you pretty much have seen it all. So after the game, Trubisky defends his decision that he would rather kneel down and not try to get closer because, it's been funny in the last 2 days. You would seriously get a kick out of Chicago radio. Man, they went over the last drive against the Eagles in the playoff game on how Matt Nagy attacked downfield and how he put the ball in Trubisky's hands. They compared it to getting into field goal range this season and how he doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't even trust his own play calling. So Eddie Pinheiro was asked today by one of the Chicago Tribune writers, was the left hash mark, or do you prefer left, center, or right hash mark? And he's like, it doesn't really matter, but I really didn't want it on the left hash mark. So how do you not ask your kicker, where do you want the ball placed, and how do you not place that ball where he wants it? It's ridiculous. However, I will give the Bears credit. They did run more than 7 times in a game. David Montgomery did finally have a breakout game. He had 135 yards rushing, broke off a nice 55-yarder, got caught from behind. But the Bears, they couldn't punch it in. They kicked 3 field goals in the first half. They got into the red zone 4 times. They kicked 3 field goals and they missed a field goal. And they got to the red zone 4 times. They couldn't punch it in. And the Chargers, they were missing a lot of key players in the game. And it's like, if you can't score more than 1 touchdown, like inside the 5-yard line, you have no business playing the rest of the games. I will tell you right now that the same trio of GM Ryan Pace, head coach Matt Nagy, and quarterback Mitchell Trubisky will be there in 2020. But I will tell you this much. After 2020, clean house.
Yeah.
They will have clean house. There is no way in heck that you pick up the 50-year option on Trubisky. He's broken. He has no confidence. And I don't even think he can get it back, to be honest with you. Again, they made the wrong call.
Mm-hmm.
They made the wrong call on their quarterback. I mean, they're 3-4. They're 1-3 at home. They just lost to the Chargers. The Chargers have no fans.
Well, that's the thing.
And they lost to the Chargers of all teams.
Well,
And hey, you know what? Here's the greatest part. I got the Chargers score right. It scored 17. I said they would lose 29-17. Yeah, at least I can call that.
right. 2 things. I keep saying to people over and over again, the coaching in today's football is the worst it's ever been. It's the worst it's ever been. Even people that I'm supposed to be told or believe are geniuses like Sean Payton, they wouldn't be able to hold the chains for any of the guys in the 80s. I've never seen anything like it. Fundamental Football 101. Ask your kicker where he wants it. Also, in Fundamental Football 101, if you're not going to kick the field goal on 3rd down, run the ball. So it's lined up on that hash mark. Never go backwards, because you never know if he's going to miss the kick by 3 feet. Second, fundamental football on this running the ball on 3rd down if you're not going to kick the field goal. You got to back over 100 yards rushing. You find out what your best play was that day, and you run it to the side that's going to put the ball on the hash where the kicker wants it. Because you never know. You might break it for a touchdown, a la Shady McCoy, Buffalo in the snow last 2 years ago, was it? You cannot tell me that these douche canoes in today's football are any good. You can't name one coach that I'm going to go, yeah, he's a good one, outside of Belichick.
Yeah, I was just about to say Belichick.
Outside of Belichick, you got nothing. You got nothing. There's nobody in the NFL that I would consider right now an NFL caliber head coach. You got some college guys that I think would be really good college coaches. You got some guys that I think would make really good high school coordinators, provided they had talent. But like the team I'm coaching, right? We got some good ball players now. Don't mistake me. Okay? We're going to have some big boys. But when you look at our roster from a talent standpoint, we're going to be a solid team. We're going to be big up front. But we ain't going to be as talented as Hamilton. I wouldn't take any of these guys on a team like I'm going to have. See, it's easy to win when you have superior talent. It's another thing when you have to rally the troops behind you and win. Nagy is a friggin' joke. I'm sorry, Eric. I know he won Coach of the Year last year, but the reason I like McVay, and I'm still not going to call him a good coach yet because there's still some inconsistencies. And Doug Peterson, he's not a good coach. Let me rephrase that. There are a few good coaches in the NFL. I wouldn't call them, well, I need more before I'm going to call them good. You have coaches with a lot of potential. But the reason I don't put Nagy in that category is you've got 2 seasons now under your belt. And I'm not expecting the Bears to improve from 12-4. But for crying out loud, you were picked to go to the Super Bowl this year. Maybe that was too lofty with the quarterback that you have. But then your solution is to run 7 times in a game? Kneel down and then kick the field goal? Like, this isn't stuff a professional coach does. It just isn't. Speaking of the Chargers is the second thing that I want to say. Or 2 things. That's Green Bay's next opponent. So, once again, Green Bay, when you play an NFL team, call me. Now, Eric, you text me during the game. Funnier than crap. At least 3 times Tom Brenneman has referred to them as the San Diego Chargers, right?
Yep, that's right.
That was hilarious. So apparently I'm not the only one to call the Chargers San Diego.
No, I've heard it on Chicago radio. I've heard it on national broadcast. Even after when they moved to LA, like that first year, I think it was NBC when they were doing a Sunday night game, called them San Diego.
That's funny. It'd be funny if they put on the graphic. All right, let's get to next week's games. The Rams are on a bye week, so we're only going to do 3. So Eric, I'll do the middle game. You pick one first, and then you'll end with the Bears. So go ahead. Which game are you most looking forward to?
I mean, there's really, I don't want to go here, but I'm going to, just because I think this could be the first loss of the season for them.
Yep, I knew you were going to go there.
But I don't think the defense is up for the challenge. So it's Sunday night, New England at Baltimore. I'm really curious to see if Lamar Jackson is going to be able to do anything against the Patriots defense. Now, we all seen the graphic 7,000 times already. That first 2 seasons of being a quarterback, the Patriots are 28-0 against them. I think that Jackson, though, adds a different element that all these other quarterbacks against New England can do, and he can run on New England. He's used his legs his last 2 times before the bye week. It was he's had over 100 yards rushing. I mean, he tore up Seattle, and I know that you were thinking Seattle was going to tear up Baltimore, but man, they went in there and they waxed the Seahawks.
No, I picked Baltimore. Hold on.
What's that?
I picked Baltimore.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You did.
Mm-hmm.
But with this game being in Baltimore, them coming off a bye, them taking 2 weeks to watch probably 20 years worth of tapes on Bill Belichick. What they really need is a good connection between Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, and also Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown. If he plays, I think it could stay close. I think they need to get Mark Ingram running the ball. Just feed it 20, 25 times a game. If they have to wear him down, but wear down the New England defense. On the other side of the ball, how do you cover James White and Edelman and Dorsett and Jacoby Myers, and you only have Earl Thomas in the secondary that is the best secondary player? How are you going to do it? I don't know. Maybe Earl Thomas got to come up and hit Brady a couple of times on blitzes or something. I don't know. As much as I want to say Baltimore has a chance and can win this game, and I think it'll be close. New England did cut Mike Nugent because he missed 2 field goals in driving rain with winds about 15 to 20 miles an hour. And they signed Nick Folk, so we'll see. Hey, maybe kicking will be an issue for the Patriots, but I'm picking this game 27-23 New England.
Baltimore get destroyed at home by the Cleveland Browns?
They did.
Okay. This is the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Belichick's taking away their best player. Fortunately for Raven fans,
Which is Lamar.
no, it is not. It's going to be Ingram. Because Belichick knows if Ingram's able to run the ball, then that's going to open up Jackson. So he's going to tell Lamar Jackson, you'll beat us on your own. Because I know you can't do it. You couldn't beat Cleveland on your own. You're not beating our defense. I think Tom Brady, captain check down, is going to continue to check down, and it's going to continue to work. Because again, Baltimore is going to play them the same way everyone else does. They're going to play 10 yards off the receivers, as if Tom Brady is circa 2003. They're going to, act like their tight end is still Gronkowski. They're not going to be able to stop the run. And they're going to have to rely on Captain Fumbles, which is Lamar Jackson, as we saw last year. So I think the Patriots are going to win this game. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to say 24-3. And I say 24-3 because I do think the Patriots are going to have some kicking issues. I do think that Tom Brady is really struggling this year, really badly. And he knows he's got a great defense, so he's not going to try to do too much. And what's the difference between winning 30-3 and 24-3? Well, it's going to be the kicking game. If the kicker's on, it'll be 30-3. If the kicker isn't, it'll be 24-3. This isn't going to be a close game. I'm hearing everybody talk about how this is going to be a great game. I just don't see it. You don't have receivers that are going to beat the Patriots' corners. And Lamar Jackson will be caught by Mayo and these guys. I mean, I watched the Cardinals play the Ravens in Baltimore close. What would happen if the Cardinals played New England tomorrow? Does anybody think that game would be close? Yet they went into Baltimore and they took him to the brink. So I don't see it. Maybe they're going to be up and I'll be surprised. I picked the Bengals. What the hell do I know? But I don't see. I'm sorry, but I don't see this game being entertaining at all. But to be fair, Eric, this was the game I was going to pick, and you took it from me. So
You're welcome.
I'm going to go to my other game. Minnesota at Kansas City. Super Bowl IV rematch in KC. Still no Mahomes, correct?
As of right now, questionable. Doubtful per every fantasy site.
So here's what I think is crucial. We know that Kirk Cousins can't beat people with a winning record, although he's had some success this year. Now he's got to go into Kansas City. We're going to find a lot out about three teams when this game is over. We're not just going to find out what kind of team Kansas City is, okay? We're not just going to find out what kind of team Minnesota is, but we're going to find out what kind of team Indianapolis is. Because remember now, they went into KC and won. So I'm really curious. Like, this is probably the only game Sunday that I would watch if I was going to watch football this weekend, which I'm not, because the Rams are on a bye week. And, I mean, it's Halloween weekend, and I'm going to have some fun and getting the house ready and setting up for Turkey Day, which I won't even be here for, but that's another story for another time. I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be close. I think if Mahomes plays, I think it's going to be a great game that I think Kansas City will win. I think if Mahomes doesn't play, it's gonna take a defensive touchdown to win this for Minnesota. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think one of those Viking defenders is going to get a. Okay? So I'm going to say, without Mahomes, Vikings 27, Chiefs 23. With Mahomes, I'm going to say Vikings lose this game 20-27. So 27-20 Chiefs. I think it's going to be one or the other. With Mahomes, Chiefs win. Without Mahomes, I can see their backup making a huge mistake and Kansas City losing the game. Take it away.
You know, all we've heard was that if the game against Green Bay was a playoff game, Mahomes would have been out there. So he's getting close, but I've also been hearing that the typical timeline for him has always been the following week when they go to Tennessee and play the Titans. Now, when I watched Green Bay, Kansas City, here's what I saw, and I think this is going to hold true for Minnesota too. Kansas City has no defense. They hadn't had a defense under Bob Sutton last year. They don't have a defense under Steve Spagnuolo this year. And I think that is getting Dalvin Cook and his lip smacking and toting the football and scoring touchdowns with his eyes open as large as friggin' Jupiter. Because, yeah, you know what? Kirk Cousins didn't have to do anything against Washington, which surprised me that he didn't want to just throw it all over the field against the Redskins, against the team that he played for so many years. Now he goes to Kansas City. He's got a lot to prove. Kansas City's 5-3. Kansas City's also having the same type of home losses that the Bears are having. And Kansas City, without Mahomes, listen, Matt Moore really opened my eyes and under poise against Green Bay. He didn't make any mistakes. The one mistake that happened in the game was LeSean McCoy fumbling. Because what does LeSean McCoy do? What does he do? Oh, he just holds the football out so anybody can take a swipe at it. Yeah, because that's how you're taught to hold a football, LeSean. So I'm thinking a lot less LeSean McCoy, but a lot more screen passes to Damian Williams. And Kansas City keeps it close, but I think it's too much Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook goes over 120 yards. He gets 2 touchdowns. You're looking at a 31-20 game right here.
Yeah, it's going to be. Oh, wow. You go 31. Wow, 31-20.
31-20 Minnesota.
All right. Take us home. Chicago.
All right. To the Bears. And we're traveling to Philadelphia. A house of horrors for the Bears. Listen, it doesn't get any better. It's actually going to get worse. Here's my prediction. I'm going to give you my final score first, and I'm going to tell you how I got there. 42-14 Philly. And here's why. 3 rushing touchdowns by Jordan Howard, over 150 yards on the ground. Alshon Jeffrey has the other 2 touchdown catches. And I know you're like, Eric, that's 5. Yeah, defensive touchdown, pick 6 on Trubisky. Philly's looking forward to this game. Jordan Howard's looking forward to this game. Alshon Jeffrey's looking forward to this game. You know, just put Zach Ertz on the sideline, put Dallas Goedert on the sideline, put Miles Sanders on the sideline. This is all about Wentz giving the ball to Jordan Howard and to Alshon Jeffrey and saying, do your thing, boys. And that's where it's going to be. And the Monday Talk Radio is not going to get any better. They're going to talk about the Bears and how bad they were. And you know what? It's expected now. So they get blown out, and not in a good way.
Wow, that's pretty bad, bro.
Well, you know, when you have a head coach who doesn't trust anybody on his offense to make a play, except for his running back, because you can't throw an interception, and when you have your number 2 wide receiver who is 5'8" and he gets overthrown because he's 5'8", and you have a quarterback who struggles and struggling, and you have a quarterback who looks at a defense and is like, what are they running? What kind of defense are they showing? I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to throw it over here. And your best player is Allen Robinson. And he's just like, you know what, just give me my 4 to 6 catches. Let me get in the end zone, and I'm good. But the Bears need work. The Bears need a lot of work. And I would have been on the phone with the Jets, calling the Jets for Robbie Anderson. And you might be like, why? Why are you calling the Jets for Robbie Anderson? Well, because Taylor Gabriel is not a number 2 wide receiver. Robbie Anderson could come in, run the deep route, while Allen Robinson runs the short to medium routes, and Gabriel goes in the slot where he thrives. And Anthony Miller can go in the slot where he thrives. But they also have no tight ends. So who's going to really score on the Bears? Well, I think it's just going to be Montgomery a touchdown, and maybe Trubisky finds like Adam Shaheen fourth quarter with 3 minutes to go.
Here's
And that's when they get their 14th point.
Here's what's fundamentally amazing to me. Where's Tariq Cohen?
You know, when your offense isn't working, your gadget plays don't work.
I guess. I mean, I'm going to give credit here to somebody. LT, earlier in the year before the season started, he traded away Tariq Cohen for some players. Didn't think Tariq Cohen was going to be a good player this year. I had him last year. He was great. I didn't get him this year. So credit to LT, credit to me, credit to you for not making a play on him in fantasy.
12-4 last year. You know, Tariq Cohen's going out wide and going out from running wheel routes and scoring touchdowns. Tariq Cohen this year, you know, he's actually getting handoffs behind the line of scrimmage. Like, that's not what Tariq Cohen does. Like, did you watch any of last year's tape? Like, you could still get Tariq Cohen the ball, just in different spots. Like, throw him the ball.
Yeah.
Don't hand it off to him when he needs to get a yard because he's going backwards. You know, there's another team out there who is 1-7. They're on their bye week this week. Who I think they have a player who I think they could have got a lot of interest on. They said that they weren't going to trade him. You know, they already traded one wide receiver. The Falcons traded Sanu to the Patriots. But hey, Bears, call up Austin Hooper. Like, I think his value would go down as far as what he brings to the Falcons offense. Okay, to the Bears offense. And I don't know if they would utilize Hooper the right way, but that is the number one target on my wish list for the offseason for the Bears to sign is Austin Hooper.
Yeah. Well, here's my prediction. I agree with you. Howard has a big day, and Alshon Jeffrey will get his. But this is going to be Zach Ertz is going to have a lot of opportunities in the middle of that defense because they're going to be blitzing Wentz, they're going to be blitzing the run, and they're going to be shutting down that because they're not going to want Alshon Jeffrey to burn him. So I think Zach Ertz is going to have a big day. I think the Bears are going to get controlled a little bit here. I think Philly's going to control the ball really well. I'm not going to go as high as you are, but I am going to say 27-13, or not even, sorry. I'm going to say 27-6. I think the Bears get 2 field goals. I don't think they get in the end zone. I think Philly gets 2 rushing touchdowns from Howard, a passing touchdown to Zach Ertz, and I think Alshon Jeffries gets over 100 yards. I don't know that he gets in the end zone, but he certainly gets him close. This isn't going to be a pretty game. The Bears are not anywhere near where people thought they were going to be. And it's funny because in the beginning of the year, Andrew Luck retires and everybody gives up on the Colts and everybody's all in on the Bears. Fast forward to week 8, everybody's done with Chicago and they're back on the Colt freight train. So it's interesting how perception doesn't necessarily become reality. I'm really curious to see what the Bears do here moving forward. Eric, any closing thoughts on Chicago?
Well, if there's one thing you can do against the Eagles, you would throw on them. But do you trust Trubisky? I mean, Allen Robinson can make double moves all day on that Eagles secondary. Allen Robinson could probably have a record-setting day for a wide receiver if he had a quarterback who could get him the ball. That's how much faith I have in Allen Robinson. He could legitimately score 4 touchdowns and have like over 200 yards receiving. He could. He just needs a quarterback to get him the ball.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. Well, I'm Anthony.
I'm Eric.
Horns up.
Bear down.
Bears are down. Go Rams.
No, you mean Boo Rams and Go Bears.
No, I mean go Rams, Boo Bears. Bye.